Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of East Grinstead Town Council Finance and General Purposes Committee, today Thursday the 21st of September 2023. The order of the meeting, first order of meeting is public participation. We have no public attending in the room and we have no public online today on Zoom. So we'll move straight forward to the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. We have had apologies from the town mayor as he is working, and also Councillor Barnett. He has a personal commitment. He has asked Councillor Lee Gibbs to substitute. I propose that we accept his substitution. May I have a show of hands? Thank you. We're on it. Welcome. Item 2, to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of June 2023. For accuracy, I'd like to thank Councillor Gibbs for picking up that he had been left off the attendees, and this has been corrected on the official copy. So I'd like to propose them for accuracy. Please may I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Belsey. Show of hands to accept. Thank you. Blacking. Thank you. This one, the initials. Thank you. Right, swiftly moving on to item 3 on the agenda, which is to receive any declarations of interest. If anyone has anything that's not already declared and pertinent to the agenda this evening, can I please have those declarations? Thank you. Councillor Whitaker for item
14, please, Chairman. I am an executive member of East Grinstead Business Association, so I won't participate in the debate.
Thank you. Councillor Margaret Belsey.
I am a trustee of Age UK.
Thank you. And that is item 8 of the community grant. Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. I'm a trustee of the museum, so they're receiving a grant.
Thank you. They're not on this side.
That's a declaration for Age UK.
And Councillor Mr. Belsey, item 12 for Age UK, declaration of interest. The rest of us get our hats on for that, please. Okay, thank you. So item 4, Chairman's announcements. An update on St Barnabas. It's now been reported to the A and T committee following the transfer to the council. There is work to be done and potential use is being shown around at present, and there's some dates penciled in and scheduled. There is a degree of governance around business rates, which we're waiting for, but all the paperwork has gone in and everything has, we're just waiting to hear back now. And planning and street naming is also being handled by the clerk, is underway. So nicely moving forward with that. So thank you to A&T for taking that under their wing. Also for an update, there has been no further advice regarding the old police station. It had been advertised, as we know, for sale. And we have had some discussion regarding the rack, but having been assured that the old courthouse has none, we assume this is the same for the police station. The police know of our continued interest in the site. They've had no further interest. So that's my updates for you this evening. Item 5 on the agenda. Ooh, swiftly moving along. Item 5. To approve the list of payments for June 2023, July 2023 and August 2023. I'm going to pass over to Dan at this point because I do know that Councillor Whitaker has sent in some questions for this. So once we've spoken to Dan, we'll move forward to approve these after Dan's questions have been answered. So
thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, first off, I'd just like to thank yourself, Councillor Whitaker, for asking the questions in advance. It's much appreciated. Okay, so just to go through the questions that have been asked by yourself. The first question covered the payment in June to West Sussex County Council for street lighting, the 22,504 payment. The questions were, is this the annual fee? how many columns do we have, and does the fee cover electricity and repairs and repainting? So the answers are yes, it is the annual fee. So that payment there, it actually covers the previous financial year. It's worth mentioning, of course, that that fee does include recoverable VAT, so the net cost of the council was 18,700. How many columns we have? We have 232. Yes, the payment covers both electricity and the maintenance. 10,400 of it is maintenance and 8,300 was on electricity. Okay. Second question was relating to the payment of 4,500 for War Memorial cleaning. Yes, the answer to that, well, the question was, sorry, is this the total cost of the work and when was it last cleaned? The answer is yes, the 4,500 is the total cost of the work, but it's worth mentioning we have received a grant of £1,800 to go towards that £4,500 cost. As for when it was last cleaned, to the best of our records, as far back as we can see, the answer is never.
A while ago, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. So to the best of our knowledge, we can't see any record that it has been.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then moving on to the questions regarding the payment of £5,917 in August to the Public Works Loan Board. The questions specifically were, is it monthly, about the loan term, the interest rate, and whether the rate is fixed. So no, it's not a monthly payment. That payment is made twice a year in August and February. The loan term is 10 years. It is a fixed rate of interest and it is fixed at 4.38%.
Thank you.
Additional parts to your questions, which I have, were, has the interest rate risen between agreeing to buy St Barnabas and now? The answer to that is yes. PWLB rates generally are fairly consistent with whatever the Bank of England base rate is at the time, maybe marginally above it. I think it's just worth noting, I had a quick look, if we'd taken the loan out obviously today, so it would be, we'd currently be paying 5.35% on the loan if it were taken out today. And the last part of your question, so was annual cost in this year's budget. Yes, in this year's budget, we have 12,200. So there will be a very small saving because the total cost will be 11,834. So there'll be a small saving of just under £400.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope that answers all your questions.
Thank you. So, sorry, just to come back, the interest rate, is that fixed 4.3 for the duration of the 10 years?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, that was really good. And thank you, councillors, for the questions. I'm sure we've actually all appreciated those questions and that understand. So thank you.
So I would like to now move to nominate that we approve those payments. Please may I have a second for those?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Belsey. If we can vote to approve payments.
Do you not want to ask any more questions on that, Chair?
Sorry, yes, are there any more questions? Sorry, just because somebody came up in front. I'm so sorry. Did you put your hand up? I'm so sorry. I missed that.
I was going to let you progress on, actually.
No, please. This is your opportunity.
As I sort of new into this one, I apologise that I haven't provided them with advice, and I'm regularly
You don't have to. It's just handy.
regularly told off by the clerk of Turner's Hill Parish Council. I assure you that is a frightening experience.
So
you're too kind then.
So just a quick feel, right? VAT is included in all of these items?
Where there is VAT applicable. Yes.
Right, okay, so it's,
Yes.
no, I mean, elsewhere I see a
Yeah.
a line which is without VAT, so you can see exactly what it is against the budget. That just an observation from elsewhere. And I noticed that because you go sort of in well, it's what do you call it, a falling list in terms of value, that Mid Sussex appears several times in terms of the rateable rates on
Okay, the business
on
rates,
that.
yeah.
I just wondered whether or not it would be easy to collect them into just a common list, because you're going to sort of spot each one, so we can see how much Mid
So
Sussex
have it
are
just
taking
showing as one?
offered. not as one, but just as a group together, so you can see.
Okay, so any payment that's made to Mid Sussex, just have them as a separate can do.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah, if-
I've got to say, I'm not in favour of public buildings paying rates. Doesn't seem, most of the buildings I'm familiar with don't pay it. You know, they seem to manage to convince the auditors that the value is less than.
Right.
Well, but it's just an observation, but it added up to quite a significant amount.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my main. Although there was one other thing, which was as a result of what Councillor Whittaker asked. The County Council have got a PFI initiative to upgrade all the heads of their lights across the county, and I just wondered what the implications were for us on that.
There is some
Street
movement in
lighting.
the town park.
I can give you the answer to that. It's, I think you asked something similar before and I went away and made sure I found out the answer. It's,
Not yet, isn't it?
yeah, the answer is not
Not
yet. All of the county ones are being done first. And then the intention is to come back to us and ask us if we would like to upgrade ours. And at that point, there obviously will be a cost incurred for that to happen. But they apparently got a really, really good deal. They are hoping once they have moved forward with their own street lamps being upgraded, they will then be able to come to all the parishes and offer us the same deal. So that's what we've been told.
They have taken 2 lights off us recently, and they are LED ones for health and safety. So and that's when this came about before
Weren't
previously.
they all changed totally in 2015?
This is LED upgrading.
LED.
So changing, yes, they didn't change them to LED. If I take you back in 2000 and I think it was 2009 when the contract was taken out, the part of that original contract was for the replacement of all the streetlights. So they were all replaced, and that was part of that agreement. Upgrading to LED is outside of that scope, and therefore it's something that's just come along since. So
This will be net zero kind of stuff.
I think that's the idea. It will certainly reduce our electricity bill, so there will be a cost up front,
Yeah.
but we will recoup later down the road.
Thank you.
Councillor, did you have a question?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And apologies for not opening that back out. So if we can move back to the vote to approve the payments. Thank you.
Carried. Thank you.
Mr Chambers, would you like those signs now or at the end?
Do it at the end. If that's
Thank
okay.
you. Right, moving on, the Town Council financial position statement. Again, I'm going to pass it over to Mr Chambers again, but before I do, I am delighted to advise everybody, to advise you that we have now received the non-qualified audit in hard copy from the external auditors who look at our accounts and governance annually in relation to 2022-23 financial year. Congratulations to everybody involved in that, because we had an extremely good audit. So congratulations down to you and your team, and over to Dan for the financial position.
Yeah, only just sort of to say, just to highlight, which is in the report, yeah, year-to-date income is, excluding the precept, is 187,000, which is 53% of the budgeted income for the year. Year-to-date expenditure, 780,000, which coincidentally is also 53% of the budgeted expenditure for the year. Over Leaf, I have summarised the revenue cost centres just to give members an overall position of where each cost centre is, so you can see whether there is whether the variance against budget is a favourable variance or an adverse variance. Just to quickly rattle through them to try and briefly explain the variances. Democratic representation is a favourable variance of just over 4,500, is predominantly due to the budget line for election costs of 4,500, which is obviously unspent. Corporate management, favourable variance of 9,500, is predominantly because we had £5,000 back from our insurance from the damage to one of our vehicles that got broken into. And it was a write-off. Also, our investment interest is performing greater than we'd budgeted for, so the two combined make the favourable variance. East Court Estate with a favourable variance of 24,000. Again, that is mainly due to utility costs being lower than budgeted for after 5 months of the year, but then you'd expect that because we haven't got into the winter period yet. And also staff salaries being under budget at the moment because the cost of living, for the current financial year still hasn't been finalised. So as and when it is, would be backdated to April. Community support with a favourable variance of just under 6,000. That's largely due to a lot of our annual grants which haven't yet been paid. Nothing worth commenting on cost centres 500 and 600 because the variances are so small. Cemetery services, favourable variance of just under 7,000 is due to lower than expected expenditure so far in the year on repairs and maintenance. And finally, Civic Pride cost centre with a favourable variance of just over 20,000. That is partly due to some of the grant for the War Memorial, which I referred to earlier. Our street market, which we have on a Thursday, is doing really well. The number of traders is quite considerably up on previous years, hence the income is up. We haven't yet spent anything, of course, on winter maintenance from that cost centre. And again, the lower than budgeted salaries have an impact on that favourable variance. So I just hope that kind of gives a good overall view of each cost centre for the members. That's all I've got to say on that.
Thank you. Do I have any questions?
Can I ask about the cemetery services? I understand a review of the burial stones, etc., is being undertaken.
Yes.
So will that, any repairs that are necessary will come in the next budget?
It's an
It
interesting.
sounded quite an expensive exercise.
It is an expensive exercise, and it's a very interesting one because where we stand at the moment is that we are seeking to go back to the plot holders, the family of the plot holders, because they are responsible for maintenance on headstones and memorials. The reality is some of them are so old that being able to trace people is very difficult. So what we've done at the moment is where we've identified that there are some dangerous areas. They are they're having little notices put on them, and if people visit them, actually, and some people have got in touch, which is very helpful because we then explain it's their responsibility. Where they're not, we will then have to decide what we're going to do. A lot of it will be relatively inexpensive and will be in-house remedial work, so they're quite easy for us to do, just laying them down and then just making them safe. But others where we're going to have to bring in equipment because they are perhaps the large crosses which are now on a slant, that is going to cost. And yes, we will have to see where we go. And we have got some budget in cemetery, but at the point in time that we have to do that, that will fall on us and it will be expensive. Hopefully, that's something with regards to going to next year's budget rather than this year's. And maybe something we need to think about. I'm not sure that's anything else into the budget on that.
I don't think we did either. Yes, Councillor Whittle, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It's not really a question, but a request, if possible. Obviously, we're now entering over the next 3 months, the budget preparation discussions for financial year 24-25, and it's usually at this stage I would request, a year-end projection out-term estimate for when we meet, maybe in December. That information will be useful.
Yeah.
I know you work
sure.
on that all the time, but
Yeah.
not now, but in a couple of months' time.
Yeah.
It's useful to know.
Sure.
With some sort of backup to it. Through, I know the chairman is coordinating the budget discussions, but that information is always useful.
Okay. Yeah. I'm
Just
happy
to-
to. I mean, if it's so, do you want it in a? Obviously.
No, just for.
We can get together and sort that
Not
and take it.
specifically issued,
Yeah.
but just.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm happy to give an update on it in December at the committee meeting. Yeah, fine.
It provides a really good
sure.
initial context background.
I think we need to do that to see what there is, and Dan and I have already arrange that we will have one meeting, we'll meet on that, and then move it forward with everybody concerned on the council. So thank you, I'll take that note. And Mrs. Bell's, I'll take your note as well, and make sure that's sort of weaved into the conversations that we've started to have. Okay, are there any more questions? Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Gibson.
Excellent presentation. Thoroughly, thank you very much. You know, sort of very exactly the sort of thing that I would like to hear about. Didn't include cost centre 1100. And I just wondered why.
Good question. So cost centre 1100 is the central administration costs, all the overheads. So IT goes in there, insurance, printing, stationery, etc. Everything that gets charged to that cost centre, essentially at the end of the year, the expenditure on that cost centre is zero, because everything that does get spent on that cost centre is reallocated over those cost centres there. So within those cost centres, there is a line that each cost centre picks up its share of all of the overheads.
Okay. And that's in there now, is it? As the element of the
Yes.
So it would net off against the entire thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Running costs and then into the cost
So
centres.
it's, yeah.
maximum reading. Right, I'm glad I asked. I think.
It's relevant when we come to the budget.
And I'm kind of in two minds about it. The reason behind it is the pro of doing it is it does make these individual cost centres, it gives them more, it's showing a truer picture of
I
what's actually.
understand that entirely. I have
Yeah.
worked in a regime of having to bring in facility charging and also charging for people's time at 6-minute intervals, which, you know, sort of is, it's playing, in my view, it's playing shops, but okay.
Yeah, so there's
It doesn't change.
pros and cons to the way
I
it's
understand what
done,
you're
yeah.
saying. It actually, in terms of projects for each of these, it gives you an absolute indication of what the project cost is and what the element is costing us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So committee, I'd like to move forward that we note the position of where we are financially.
Noted.
Thank you. Right, thank you very much, Ms James, for your hard work and for putting it and for having the questions, and certainly for the councillors that are here to see it for the first time or in detail for the first time. Thank you for being able to answer their questions so readily. Item 7 on the agenda is now performance indicators, your KPIs. So this is really to receive the reports and if there's any questions, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the KPIs. Is there anything anyone wants to make comment on that? If not, that report is just for noting. Thank you. Okay, item 8 is the recommendations from committees. Any recommendations from the outstanding committees? And we have recommendations from minutes 139 of the A&T committee to recommend to the Finance and General Purpose Committee that the council sponsor the job fair being organised by the local MP's office in order to cover the cost of the hire from Meridian Hall. This can be met through the Business Sport Initiative programme. I would like to propose that we accept that recommendation. Please may I have a second for that?
I'd like to second that recommendation.
Thank you. Can we open it up for discussion? Is there anybody that would like to ask any questions on that? Councillor Whittaker.
Is there a
thank you.
date for this, Chairman?
The date, they did have a date, they haven't moved it, so they're hoping to do it in the spring.
Right.
And if it does get pushed, we would like to agree that and move it forward and carry it into the next financial year, so it is secured, so that it becomes a town council sponsored event. But they're just trying to get the date in place, so we're looking at spring 2024. Thank you.
There were no objections at A&T.
No, it was actually wholeheartedly supported, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I probably should have asked A&T last week. Is there a specific criteria of what vendors, I suppose, are involved, or is it just sort of whoever?
At this particular juncture, we haven't got the details because I think that's probably why it's not happening as quickly as they would like it, because they have to get those vendors in place. But it is, the target market, I don't think it's all local, but it's not, we haven't got age groups or anything like that. I think it's designed, you know, a one-stop shop.
So I think that's probably why it's taking longer to put together, to get everybody in one place in the right amount of time to do it properly. But all we know is it's to support local businesses and local residents that are looking to get back into work or jobs for the first time.
I know my department at the QVH are struggling a bit to get their jobs out to the right market, so.
Well, I'm sure they will be, certainly because it's a local business, I'm sure they'll have the time, but we're going to be sponsoring rather than running it, so, but everything we will have, obviously we will share as and when we have that information. So,
Chair, if I may, it might be really worth you passing on to whomever in your organisation to tell them to contact the MP's office and say they're interested and make sure that they get there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better place to do it, really.
Just in case they've been missed. I'm sure they haven't been, but just in case.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, yes, Councillor.
Noting the involvement of the local MP. If the date was to fall in the purdah period of the general election, would that be a problem?
Oh, do you know what the town clerk is looking, and if she can't, we'll have to get back to you, but I think that might be some information.
She's looking for guidance.
Yes.
Thinking. I'm not sure particularly that it would, but I suspect the labelling of it might have to change. Let's put it like that. I'm not sure that the event itself wouldn't be able to go ahead, but it may have to have a different time.
I'd like to stress I'm totally in favour of the event.
Yeah, no, I understand the point, and actually it's probably something that maybe just needs.
I will double check that, and I'll raise the question with the office.
Ask Conservative Central Office when the election is, and
okay. Are there any more questions if we can move to the vote to approve that recommendation?
That's good.
Thank you. All right. Item 9 on the agenda, delegated decisions. Any delegated decisions since the last cycle will be noted. There is only one, and that was to advertise the post of the deputy town clerk. This has now been filled, and the new deputy town clerk will be starting on Monday the 25th, so next Monday. And it's a lady called Sarah Mamoni. So she'll be starting and supporting on lots of the projects that we've got coming through. So I would like it, Minister, that we actually welcome her when she starts next week and wish her luck in her new role as part of this team.
Thank you.
Item 10 is the personnel working group and HR update. The committee are advised of any changes in staffing and local government pension scheme members. This report is the good news is that Charlene Saunders has been appointed as our new caretaker on a part-time basis and will start again on Monday the 25th. And no further forward on the staff salary increase. That is still yet to be agreed and resolved. So again, this does affect the budget and everything that Dan Chambers has said, and there's no indicators from the unions as of yet what that may be. So obviously the allocations are still there, but the cost centres are showing underspent at present. So I would like you to note the report, please, committee.
Noted.
Thank you. Right, moving on to a nice meaty piece. Item 11, the Economic and Sustainable Travel Subcommittee. The committee will receive an update from the subcommittee. The committee are asked to approve the terms of reference and the proposed meeting schedule for the subcommittee. However, the meeting schedule has proved not to be ideal, so the subcommittee will be proceeding to full council to ask for it to be made into a full committee and be scheduled as part of the committee cycle, being the first meeting the week before public services, with additional monthly meetings on Thursdays at 7 p.m. The committee here are asked to approve this position and to note that it will progress to full council, which will be on Monday the 2nd of October. I would like to propose that we accept the terms of reference, and we accept that be added as a full committee to be put forward for approval for full council. Please may I have a second?
I'd like to second that proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Belsey. And now I'm moving forward for discussions on that matter. Thank you. I would like, Chairman, if you'd like to say something. And the reason why we want to do it this way would be very helpful to the committee, I feel.
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Chair. That's great. So, yeah, we had our first meeting in July, and which was all going very well. But basically, it's felt that really we need to take the environment sustainable travel a bit more seriously within council. Putting it into a full standing council meeting was the next step, but for the next civic year, we're bringing it forward, just really so that we can get control of the meeting a little bit more, and also have a budget that we can work with properly without having to go through this particular committee. The items that we're sort of getting involved with are actually really very good. We've already made progress with the several of the items, including the environment assessment document that was produced a couple of years ago. So we're making progress on things that are outstanding on that. We're also making inroads with regards to things like, within that document, was raising environmental awareness within schools, looking at Tetra Pak recycling, and also more litter picking dates, that kind of thing for the community. Bike hire is going ahead, but it's been delayed because of the deputy clerk position. So Sarah's going to get involved with that. The proposal for the LC whip that is with that was adopted by Mid Sussex in March. We're looking to take a bit more control over that ourselves as a town, so there'll be more news about that in the coming weeks. But it just means that we're looking to make a list, put a list together of things that we can put forward to West Sussex to get things going to make cycling and walking safer. The pilot scheme for a bike bus as well is going to be started next week. We've got House of Park interested as a pilot school on that one to begin with, and so start off small and then roll it out to other primary schools from there. That's really sort of a very brief summary of what, although we've only had 2 meetings, there's still quite a lot of action to be going in from the committee. I would just like to say also that I think that it is a very positive step to have this committee within the council. I don't think there is anything else in the district from a parish council with this particular drive to have a positive, really positive impact for the community. So it's really something to be proud of, I think. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Councillor Bells, I know you had to say something.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chair. I haven't had an opportunity to raise this with Councillor Odey or yourself, and just it's been a sort of fast moving over the last few days, but I very much approve of the committee. I just the name of the committee, the Economic and Sustainable Travel, that's become the full committee. The remit of it is to review the environmental plan of the town council, and Councillor Odey himself mentioned stuff about litter picking and the Tetra Pak recycling. They're not publicly travel related items. And I just, if we are promoting it to a full sort of committee of the council, I wonder whether that's the right name for the committee, whether it should be the Environmental Sustainability Committee or something like that, really, if it's got to have that wider.
Thank you. It's a fair point, and actually, if I can come back on that, because actually, the correct terminology does have sustainable in it, in the committee name. The reason we had the travel and sustainable is because for this current year, there was a budget for that. Moving forward, we can change the name of it next year, but it's because there was a budget to fit forward and it was fitting. We were trying to fit it into to do the role, but it should have sustainable in the title. So I do need to correct that. So I will correct my proposal to include that word.
Chair, I think this is actually my mistake totally. It is the Environmental and Sustainable Travel Subcommittee, which we're looking to take forward. The council have another working party, which is an economic working party, and I've simply muddled the 2 titles together on the papers. That's completely my fault, and I apologise.
Councillor Mrs. Belsley.
Fine, not particularly relevant, but yesterday I was listening to a programme on the radio, and they were discussing a national survey that had been done on how children travel to school. and there was a huge swing to walking. It was really significant from going by car and going by cycling. I just thought that was of interest, that there was a really significant swing back to children walking, as once upon a time they did. So it was just interesting to see, but this is nationally, I'm not saying it was this particular area. It was just a significant piece of information to see that.
I think there's an appetite growing for this. I think it's something that's going to grow, and I think it's nice to be a forward-thinking council rather than somebody a reactionary council. So I'm very much supportive of it, and I very much approve of it as a full committee going on the cycle, the timings and everything, to give it its seriousness, and also to ensure that people could attend the meetings at the right time. I do know that I struggle with the early ones, so I'd like to, if there's no more questions, I'd like to move. Oh yes, your hand has got quicker. I need to spot it quicker.
I just waited to the end, because I'm not really sure how relevant this is to the argument, to the debate about the change of, but I'd just like to point a few things out. And it's in the context of certainly material which was prepared for the debate at council, Mid Sussex Council last night, which some councils will be aware of. We need, if we're talking about active travel, and we need to be cognizant of the emphasis within the West Sussex Transport Plan on active travel, and the fact that they are running a consultation at the moment during this month on, in particular, cycle routes and the bids that they should be making into the next round of the active travel fund, assuming that they are moved up from a level 0 council, which of course they managed to get themselves reduced to as a result of the fantastically successful bike lane at the A22, which of course we all remember. And within that as well, the LC whip, I'm not sure of the detail within that. I have read it, and I'm not sure which are the priority routes, or whether there are any priority routes in East Grinstead. But West Sussex have contracted with WSP in order to review those routes and to assess whether they should be taken into the long list for the next round of the active travel. So whatever we are doing needs to recognise that. And the final thing that I would note, as one of Councillor Whittaker's, of course, favourite subjects, is that there is a joint West Sussex Surrey County Council study of the A264, A22 Felbridge Junction corridor, for which they've just appointed a steering group of county councillors that I've joined. And the emphasis in that is, of course, to get people out of cars and into alternative forms of transport for that. And if I was looking at a sort of wider pitch, I would say that perhaps less relevant to this council, but certainly a link from the Worth Way that runs up through Copthorne onto Gatwick would be something which, you know, sort of we should be shouting about, because certainly there is the opportunity for sustainable travel all the way through then. But that is perhaps something for Worth Parish Council than for here. But I just wanted council to be aware of that, given the speed at which this is moving, which is possibly slower than what's happening elsewhere in the county, because it would be a shame to miss out on the opportunity for funding. And I have to say, once again, there's no money being spent in the north, it's all being spent along the seafront.
Sorry, if I may just come back to that. That's a great point, Ian. And actually, I have tried to get involved in the working group for that active travel consultation, not consultation, but the working group. But it's closed shop. Getting is really difficult. So that was a brick ball on that one. But I'd really like to have a conversation with you after this, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It comes back to Councillor Early's point earlier about being possibly one of the few parish councils looking at something like this, and it probably comes on to Councillor Gibson's point as well. I think a lot of parish councils probably feel a little bit like they don't really have scope to make fundamental changes to impact this sort of thing. But with discussion we've had in the subcommittee, it's evident that actually there are, albeit quite small, things that we can do as a parish council, and then that can help us work out where we can work with, say, the district or the county on certain things that to make an advance, so, really interesting.
Thank you, and I think it's something, you know, the appetite is there, and we jump on that appetite and jump on expertise and knowledge and absolutely communicating with everything I can do. So yes, Councillor Gosling.
Thank you for letting me come back as well, and I think Councillor Gibson makes a really good point by Councillor Gibbs. I think we just have to be extra wary, just because apart from Councillor Gibson, the other members of the Cabinet District are not in our in the new constituency, and we're going to have to be ready to get that vocal to make sure we get our points across for that. I'm just being realistic about that. So
If we have the knowledge, hopefully
any
that will give us
opportunities to get involved in consultations, we must take.
crack at the door,
Yeah,
get in, yeah. Yes, thank you. Is anyone else, before I can slightly amend my proposal to have the correct terminology? So, anybody else? Right, so I am, my proposal is that we take the Environmental and Sustainable Travel Subcommittee into a full committee and take that to a full council to approve their terms and conditions, and that they join the cycle starting in December on the Thursday preceding the Public Services Committee. Please may I have a second to my amended proposal.
To second your second proposal.
Thank you. So can we now please move forward to accept that, to take it to full council? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Oldie, for all your work on that, and I do look forward to being able to attend and doing what I can to support yourself and obviously the town. Okay, so now we're moving on to item 12, which is the community revenue grant. The committee are asked to consider the applications and allocate the budget grant. There is a timetabled chair's recommendations. I would like to propose that we take them on block, except for the Age UK, because we have had 2 declarations of interest on those. So I'd like to propose we take the rest on block. If I may have a second for those first.
I'd like to second that proposal.
Thank you. Right, now open for discussion on those, please. What I will just say before we go, it's this year we've upped the allowance we've got is 3,000, and as you'll see from what it was sent out, it was nearly £13,000 worth applied for. The recommendations are to give just about everybody something. You'll see that there are 3 that have been discounted. Spun-Glass Theatre is not a local theatre, they're based in Brighton. They want to have a theatre production at Stand End for Christmas, so that it'll benefit children from experience. Yes, some will, but it is for everybody, it's not specifically for them. So that's why that one, because normally we try and do a little bit of something for everybody. Family Support Network, we read all of their documentation. They're actually not a local company. They deal with rural and coastal families, as opposed to families that we felt that would hit the children of the town. Whereas the more Time for Children, I know, is very well used locally, very well used in all schools. And so, which I know is a local thing, because I know that the children of the town are benefiting from that. And the Community Bonfire, they already have a standing grant available to them that they have annually, and so to be fair to everybody else, to have a little bite of the cherry, that was reduced. And My Care Matters, we felt it was something not for this cycle. Anyone please have any questions? Okay, so if we can move to the votes on those, then to accept the proposals as are, except for Age UK, we can please vote. Karen, thank you. Does Mrs. Belzy need to leave the room for talking about Age UK?
I think so,
And Councillor Mr. Belzy.
and Belzy stay refrain from engaging in discussion and voting. I think that they'll be fine.
I think so too, thank you. So Age UK, we had given everybody a grant for it. We felt it was shared, so I'm proposing that we give them a grant of £100. Please may I have a second from somewhere else around the room? Thank you, Councillor Odie. Any questions? We can vote to give them that grant.
That's carried.
Thank you very much. That was a really hard, a hard grant allocation. What I would like to do while we're on the grant allocations and initial looking at the budget for next year with the need of things, I would like to propose that the committee increase the allocation for the 24-25 cycle to £5,000. Please may I have a second for that?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. Any questions? If we could take a vote on that, please take that forward. Thank you. Right, okay. Item 13, insurance contract. The committee are updated by the report on the position of the insurance contract. This was a delegated decision, so this is just to be noted. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Chambers? Yes, Councillor, thank you.
Again, it's not really a question, but it's with the insurance market being so volatile now, you know, I think that's a good result with reading the report in the papers, so a very good result.
Thank you.
I can confirm that. I see that my house contents and, you know, so the house insurance has gone by 20%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine's not due yet. I'm not going to look.
Car insurance, everything. It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. So, good job.
Thank you. So that report's for noting.
That's it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 14, which is the Visit East Grinstead website. Councillor Whitaker has declared an interest in this. The committee asked whether there is an appetite for the council to take over the running of the website due to the lack of availability resources at the East Grinstead Business Association. We are estimating that the cost at circa £1,000 to £1,200 per year from next year's budget to be increased to reflect this approval. I would like to propose, actually, do I need to declare an interest on this?
Oh, goodness me,
I
yes.
absolutely need to declare an interest on
Yes,
this,
you
so
do.
actually I need to pass this over to you, Mrs. Belsey.
I would like to propose this.
And I think you need to leave.
So I need to leave the room.
But thank you.
How did I forget that?
Excellent question. Let's put that up in there.
Do you need to shut the door?
So, I think if we want far enough away, it's fine.
Do we discuss it or we put a proposal up?
Proposal
Proposal
first, please.
Now you need
Which
to
is
second
fine.
it.
So proposal and second, and then discuss.
Okay. I'd like to propose this item on the agenda for the website costing in the region of 1,500, although no specific costs have been advised. Have I got a seconder for this motion? Thank you. All those in favour? Or do we discuss it? Shall we have some discussions? We would like to have some discussions.
I can give a little bit more information, if it's helpful, Vice Chair. We have had some costs sent in from Mr. Farron, and who is currently the host for the particular site, and he and I need to have a further conversation, but it's coming out very similar to the costs that our website hosting costs us otherwise. So we're talking 1,000 to 1,200 per year. I think we put 1,500 in the budget. That will be adequate to cover it, but we're probably looking at being about £1,200 per year, and that will allow for a little bit of consultancy as well. We also need to do some training next year as well for we'll have to in this year's budget actually for the tourism team to get a bit more up to date with it, and so they can take it on and then do the updates and get it going, what have you. But this is a similar cost to our website, and obviously it will be kept in use, and it does have good use, so that does help. It really does have quite a lot of hits, and it is looking a little sadly out of date and does need to be brought up to date. Mr. Farron is engaged by us to do this with our staff dealing with the information on the page, but him making sure that all the links and the twiddles and all the IT things that have to be done are done. It will be kept up to date.
That's one question I wanted to ask. Have we got the time and the experience to be able to do it? But you obviously that has been.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? Yes, Councillor.
Can I ask, with that 1,500 or £1,200 maintenance, is that including the domain as well? So
Everything, yeah.
Councillor.
I just wondered, would it not be an alternative option, be an extra link on the town council website?
I can answer that. This indeed was a conversation which I had in the past, and I had a conversation with the tourism team to say, did they have the time to take it on, and what was their thoughts about whether it should simply be re-subsumed back into the East Grinstead Town Council site. Now, when we had the chairs meeting prior to the start of this round, I actually explained this to the chairman. Unfortunately, our chairman had to vacate the room. The Visit East Grinstead website came about as an idea, and they took a lot of the information off our website, which we always looked after for them and kept it up to date. We just did the work and then they did the updating. That's now going to change, so we'll do the updating. It took a lot of our information. It also had information on there which was to support and promote businesses. Well, to a large degree, that part of it is probably going to become dormant and go, and we will take that off, so it won't be out of date information, it just won't be there. But there is certainly an argument to be had that there is a non-council website is more attractive for people when they're coming to visit a town, to come and look for information on tourism matters. I have to say, when the argument was put to me, I said, my first place I go is to the town council website and look at things, but then perhaps that's because of my background and my interest, and I accept that if somebody's coming to visit wherever is a known brand. It is a known brand, and so people may well go and visit East Grinstead if they're looking to find out information on East Grinstead, and they would obviously get a hit straight away. It's the calendar is our calendar. It's one that again comes over from our site, so we could subsume it back into our site. I suspect we will then lose a lot of hits, and I suspect that it won't necessarily look quite as. I mean, our site's nice, but our site is about the civic part of our work rather than promoting, encouraging tourism in the way that a separate site can do that in a slightly different way. So I've spoken to everybody about it who seem to think that they would actually prefer not to subsume it back into the site from an officer point of view. So that's my advice.
Would there be anything to stop us having a link from our site?
Oh, we do that.
We
already do that.
So we go in and link across, yes.
We already do that. There are links all over our website which will take you through to Visit East Grinstead. There are various links in our calendar which take you over to their calendar. It's our calendar, we look after both of them. And yes, there's a lot of interaction between the two.
Councillor Percy.
Thank you. I'm just going to say something as the town council representative on East Grinstead Business Association. So I've also sat in some of the meetings. I am still slightly sceptical about the value of the website because it's just a little bit dated, and it, you know, if you go into accommodation, for example, if you're trying to, it's really patchy, and it's sort of one of the top 3 hits is a B&B about 5 miles away from East Grinstead. You know, it's not, it doesn't cover, it's not great coverage yet of everything available to the town, and a lot of it is quite shop and business oriented and not really tourist oriented. But I'd be willing to give it a go for a year just to see whether they can make something of the site, because I could see that it'd be lovely to have a go-to place for tourists and visitors to the town. But at the moment, I don't think it does quite the job that it should be doing. But if this gives us a chance to steer it towards that, then I'd be happy to do it and look again next year. That's my personal perspective.
And if I want to answer that, would you answer that, Chair, just very quickly? Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and everything on there that is the accommodation, that is the tourism side of it, there's all information that we've been trying to update for some time, and there have been problems with that. That's exactly what we will do, is drive it as a tourism site in order, and certainly sort out that accommodation in order to improve it from that point of view. We'd have to, otherwise it's pointless.
Yeah.
Sorry, something's always in the chair. Yeah, on that note, I think it probably works perfectly to because if it falls into the remit of our appropriate officers, I'd like to think they know exactly what to go in and it's relevant. Might be just what we've been missing.
Sorry, one last, is there an audit of that website has it been done, or just to find out what needs to be done? Or is it going to be totally redesigned, or what's the
It won't be
process?
totally redesigned, that would cost money to do that. What this will be is, it will be we will take off the parts that we don't want, such as the business side, if you like, the shops, and we will then just be changing the pages as to what it is, so that's something the team will be doing. But a lot of it, by simply updating where we've been trying to get it updated for quite some time, will make a significant difference to the look of it anyway, straight away.
Yeah.
The town council logo will be much more prominent, the EGBA logo will disappear, and all of those things are part and parcel of what Mr. Farron will be doing for us to move it forward.
Great.
So can I just confirm, it's going to be driven by the council?
Yes.
Thank you.
EGBA will have nothing further to do with it.
No, that's fine. Thank you. So are we happy with the, do we wish to put in the addendum that we will be a trial period of 12 months, or do you?
I think that'd be sensible, to be honest. You go beyond 12 months.
Are we a review perhaps rather than a trial? Review?
Review after a year would be.
Yes, we want to be positive, but we want to be a review.
I was going to ask what happens in 12 months if we decide it's not working, but then I suppose that's what all reviews for.
Yes,
Just
so
wondering
a review,
what
I think,
happens
rather
after
than a trial.
Okay.
So with that, are we happy to vote?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's carried, thank you very much.
Shall it?
Please.
Let them in.
Please let the chairman back in.
Sorry for forgetting you were the chair for a minute, Margaret.
That's all right.
I suddenly looked at the, oh,
As
that's
long as you
right.
didn't think it was me, that's fine.
Right. Thank you, Vice Chair, for taking over.
That's all right.
I can't believe that's a sudden revelation to my brain. It's obviously been a busy day. Thank you. So, moving on then. Moving on to item 15. IT matters and cyber security. This is following on, we talked about insurance earlier. Following on the report from our insurance company, there are a number of recommendations to upgrade the council's security. Committee will be asked to approve some upgrades to resolve problems that have been experienced on the IT link to the library. Two discussions in this report. It can be financed from this year's budget. Sorry, two decisions to be made. It can be financed from this year's budget, and I'd like to take those on block, because it's both or neither. You can't have one without the other. It's simple as that. So I would like to take that we accept the recommendations, or I'd like to propose that we accept the recommendations to improve our security and the IT problems and the links with the library. Please may I have a second?
I'd like to second that recommendation.
Thank you. Right. Questions, please, comments? Councillor Gibbs, you're first. Anything? Oh, anything? Okay. So I vote, oh, Councillor Odin, oh!
Sorry. Just the £240 per calendar month for a gigabyte at each line. What does that actually mean?
Thank you.
I can give you, I can share my, I was going to say, I can share my very limited knowledge
I
of
think the
that.
thing is with this was a project started, wasn't it? And with our deputy clerk, and then Dan's picked up on the insurance side of it, so it's, yes.
£3,000 for a broadband, basically.
My only, all I can tell you with my current understanding of that is that the line that we have, which is connecting between basically our service here at East Court and the library for the tourism team, is a shared line, and as a result of that being a shared line, there is a whole number of traffic coming through that line, which is adding to the problem of the slowness of the service and the connection. And by having the dedicated line, you eradicate that problem.
Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm really naive with this, but I thought it was a West Sussex County Council library. So why do we need an internet line from here to the library?
to protect our services here. Because they dial in individually as council staff as opposed to go to the library, so it's secure.
Right.
Essentially, yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
it's the security, and the
Absolutely.
security came through from the insurance that it had to be secure, so they had to have their own logins to get it, it has to go through their secure line. That's the sort of thing we need to do it.
Can I ask,
I'll do Mrs. Belsey and then Councillor Gibbs, thank you. Only because she was on that side first.
It's all right.
can I ask
Don't
how
see how
this
that either
arose? Was there a breach of security?
So no, there wasn't a breach, no. I think with cybercrime, it shows no sign of abating. It's just becoming more prevalent. I was aware it was discussed at a council meeting, I believe an F&GP meeting about sort of 12 months ago, yeah. So the opportunity arose to get this no obligation. In my mind, it was almost a form of like a ethical hacking almost, of them trying to get into the system and then sending us the report. So we thought, well, yeah, we've got nothing to lose by doing that. So no, there was no breach of security.
That's usually where this
Yeah,
starts
there was no
from.
breach of security. It was basically the report came back to say you could very, very, very easily have a breach of security if these matters aren't addressed.
So it was them proposing that they test it rather than it being required.
We went to them, it
Right.
became, it was something that we became aware of that was available as an insurable risk.
Yes.
And so we went to them and said, would you please do an audit on us? Now, to be very fair, the people who carried out the audit are not the people who then sell the insurance. And therefore, that was my first question to you, wasn't it? And therefore, it wasn't a case of, well, of course they would say that, wouldn't they? Because it was a completely independent report. And so they came back to us, and they actually came back to us and said that our risk was very high. And at this point in time, we would not be eligible to have the additional insurance. So we thought on that basis, we needed to bring this into committee and we needed to do something.
So we've already got the insurance though within our
Not the
policy.
cyber.
Not cyber.
They won't insure us on it.
Okay. I'm just interested to see what preempted it to, because normally it's some sort of
Yeah.
breach that.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, this is trying to get ahead of that,
Get
really.
ahead
Yeah.
of it. That's
yeah,
fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibbs.
Well, I just can't believe that there isn't fantastic broadband throughout this town, given the disruption to the streets
Yeah.
that's gone on with the various companies all over the place. But I must admit that finally the avalanche of emails has died away. However, my question is a very simple one. Would not a VPN, virtual some private network, have worked? I mean, that's normally what you get so we have BT broadband and it's,
To be quite honest, I couldn't answer that question. I wouldn't. I mean, I could.
I
must have
happily,
been
I just
thought
wouldn't.
about.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
I do know that a lot of work was put into this, and the report was done, wasn't it? And a lot of work on the back of it. And it was also to ensure the safety, especially with the hybrid working now, there was a need to get the safety when they're at home, the computers here. That was all part of that.
Yeah.
Security,
Also,
safety
Chair, we, having got the report and the pair of us falling on the floor for a minute, the next thing that Dan did was to contact our IT support and to say, okay, we've got this, how do we resolve it? I'm not saying it couldn't be resolved with a VPN, but if that had been a simple solution, I'm surprised they didn't offer it. Because again, our IT company had nothing to do with this report. It wasn't a case again of looking for work. We went to them and said, we've got this, we need to resolve this. Can you give us a quotation? That was all it was. Can you give us a quotation? What do we need to do to make this right? And this was the solution that they came to us with.
In essence, it's twofold. Yeah, it will increase our security and increase the reliability and
I know.
stability.
I did know that, Alice did say at the AT meeting last week that they have had technical issues which have slowed them.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Oh, they've
So-
absolutely.
Excuse me, so they have really struggled working in the library, so.
And just the other point was, I recall that we are buying new laptops and new workstations, but
Yeah.
we're buying them half this year and half next. And is that
Um,
any implication on that?
And again, that was the question that I asked Dan to go and before we went down this road, because I said, is this something that is going to be resolved next year anyway, as we go down the route of the change into the laptops? And the answer was no, not really. What the work that they're doing now is that it might be part and parcel of what would be being done, but actually it's a different way of looking at it. And the hardware that we're buying actually is not directly related to what they're doing here. So there is no double cost, which was exactly the question that I went and asked.
Just what was in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, are we clear about the recommendation? Are we happy to move forward with the vote if there's no more questions? No. Thank you, so we move forward to accept that proposal. Thank you, that's
Carried.
Thank you. Well, that actually concludes our business for this evening. I'd like to thank you all for your attending this evening, and know that the next committee meeting will be held on Thursday, the 14th of December 2023. I close this meeting at 8:06. If you'd like to stop recording.